we are going to be reviewing and analysing Lake Mungo.
So Lake Mungo was released in 2008 and was filmed in, or set in, Aratat, Australia.
So, a couple of interesting facts about Lake Mungo, the film. There was actually no written dialogue throughout the entire thing. What the actors were given was just main points on what to go off, and they just talked free-flowing. Also, the creator of the film, not sure if he wrote it or just directed it, but he has not made any films since, and he has also fell off the face of the earth when it comes to films and the internet. No one's seen him since.
I really enjoyed it, obviously, despite it being sad and really creepy and a horror film. It was like straight away I was hooked and interested in because you told me about the film, but I wasn't 100% on how she died. I didn't know she drowned in a lake. So I was intrigued straight away, like thinking, how did she die and who was there? Because I thought she was on her own and like she drowned and maybe got murdered or something, but then it turns out the whole family was out for the day. Yeah, the whole opening where they said they drove home and it was really weird that when they were driving home that she weren't in the back, and the mum went in her room and everything was all like her bed was all neat and everything. That was, yeah, all of that was really I was intrigued straight away when they started telling their story in the interviews and stuff like that.
What was your first impression of all the twists that happened towards the latter half of the film?
That made it even more interesting because it's like they started doubting whether or not she was if she was still alive. Yeah, it made it more interesting that they added bits like that in with the brother making up the pictures.
So he wanted to do that to give his mother closure, because his mum, June, never actually got to see Alice's body. So he wanted to fake the photo so she would be encouraged to dig up the body again and confirm that it's actually her.
Oh, right, okay, yeah. The film's really believable because it's like you're actually watching a documentary, and you kind of forget that you're watching a film. It's not like watching another horror film. Like, it's stupid to compare Halloween with Lake Mungo. It's completely different, but that's like, you're watching a film, whereas this is really believable that you could just be watching a documentary.
The film is incredibly slow burning in its presentation, and it is also presented as a documentary, a mockumentary. The film is presented as a documentary and is also incredibly slow burning. There are almost no jump scares until the final section of the film. You could easily think this was a real documentary if you had no context due to the authenticity of the actors, and the story mostly stays grounded in reality. It does a great job using the viewer's imagination to accentuate the fear.
Yes.
The film overall is almost completely gore-free. So the few times the disgusting image does show up, like when she's getting taken out of the lake and then the final shot, it makes you super uncomfortable.
I just wrote down bullet points the stuff that was good, like the couple were like filming their day out, and then there was another bloke taking pictures, and then in the far distance there was someone sitting on the tree. And then in the footage, you see Matthew walking around with Alice's jacket on. That was good because it makes it more confusing. Where like there's a lot of misleading whether or not she's if it's her ghost or like what's going on, or if it's just Matthew. Another thing that added to it was Alice. She was like babysitting the neighbours' kids, and then she ended up being in their sex tape, and he was. And then she took the sex tape, and she was like, there was another person on camera, and it was wherever his name was, and he was trying to find the tape. I'd looked up what other films the rest of them had been in, and the dad isn't even an actual actor. It said he was an artist.
No way.
And I mean, he's done a couple films. Ruins the immersion a bit if George Clooney was in it or something like that. Like, whereas you don't know who these people are, they just seem like normal people, and it makes it a lot more believable. Just seeing people who you don't know being interviewed. Was there a couple jump scares? Obviously, the main one, the phone footage, but that worked.
There's only one jump scare.
Yeah, and that worked really well. I mean, this came out in 2008, so that jump scare type of horror wasn't even around. That come later on and got really old really quick. Yeah, just really subtle, zooming in slowly into Alice standing in the hallway is much more effective than shitty jump scares that come up in other horror films.
The film throws in a lot of twists and mixed directions throughout the film to make you constantly question whether the ghost of Alice is real or not. Matthew faked the photos in the beginning of the film to allow his mother to get the closure she didn't have when she refused to see Alice's body. When the family finds out that Matthew's photos were actually faked, then another left hook comes in where they see another shot of Alice whilst they was on holiday looking over the parents' bedroom. And then in the same shot, they also see the old neighbour squatting in Alice's bedroom trying to retrieve a sex tape, which is another twist of the film, because we don't really know much about her at this point. After that, There's even more twists. So it turns out the photos that Matthew fakes also had real accounts of Alice in them. And they show up at the end of the film. There's so much shit going on. There's so many twists. You're constantly questioning whether Alice is real or not. Not her, but the ghost. Her ghost. Alice is real. No, she's not. She's an actor.
The mum was having dreams about Alice being at the end of her bed and she didn't want to open her eyes. Yeah, that was really scary.
That was another twist. Well, that was basically a foreshadow because, earlier on in the film, June kept saying that, she felt like someone was at the end of her bed. And it turns out she actually was.
Yeah. Oh, that's horrible. Yeah, I'd already seen that one clip. It was still really scary when I watched the whole film, and the whole time I was thinking this scene's going to come at some point. I wasn't sure when it was going to come. Obviously, it's a horrible video where Alice is walking, filming, and then she has like an omen where she sees a ghost pretty much. That bit was horrible, especially knowing the explanation, because when I first saw the clip, I just saw obviously Alice, like the ghost and everything, but knowing the actual explanation where she's just walking, filming, and she sees her own ghost made it even more terrifying. There was a few parts in the film, like mostly where they were showing Alice and stuff, that was actually, I'm not exaggerating, but it's actually giving me goosebumps and stuff, which doesn't normally happen when I watch horror films. It creeps me out, but that was actually making me feel like, I feel uncomfortable watching certain bits of it.
There are themes of grief, regret, closure, and hope throughout Lake Mungo. Both parents have accounts of seeing Alice after her death, the father in her room and her mum at the end of her bed. The film never exactly clarifies whether it was actually Alice's ghost or it's the parents just facing grief. June and Alice's relationship was also apparently turbulent, so she regrets not being there for her enough. June's mother was also the same with her.
All the stuff that's going on with Alice, like her ghost and everything, she's trying to just give her family closure, because once they find the video and everything, they said everything went back to normal and they moved out the house, and it was like, even though it was really scary, Alice was trying to just give the family closure, and then they just moved on, and then all that weird stuff stopped happening, and then the final shot of the family outside the house and then she's in the window, that was like perfect. So overall, the film does a great job at making you feel uncomfortable, and when you're watching it, it's very believable. It's not like watching a film. All the acting was really good. I've given it a 9 out of 10.
To summarise it on my end, I've seen this film a lot of times since 4 years ago, and it's one of my favourite horror films of all time now. I love how it builds tension, I love how it's slow burning, and I love the fact that it's subtle in its nature. There's not many jump scares. Overall, I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10 as well.